St. Francis de Sales is a vibrant community that dates back to 1842. For almost 175 years, our church has been ministering to the needs of our community. And while facilities and faces have changed over the years, one thing remains the same: our commitment to Christ, to one another, and to the betterment of our community. Our church today is an active community comprised of over 930 households. Led by a dedicated pastor and strong core of lay leaders and volunteers, there is an increasing number of ways that people of all ages can participate in the spiritual, educational, social, and service ministries of our church. Yet, despite our strong heritage of activity and accomplishment, some significant challenges still remain. As we approach our 175th anniversary, we are in need of long overdue interior remodeling and refurbishing to brighten and restore our church. After attending to the structural needs and upgrades on the outside of the church and the basement, the time for the beautification of the church interior has come. Our church interior is quite dark, part of which is brought on by the black marble that lines the sanctuary walls. Despite being the fashion during the time of its installation in the 1950s, our church interior needs to be brightened up to reflect the light of our parish, liturgy, and worship. As you look up and to the side in our church, you can't help but notice the cracks and dirt stains, despite the grandeur of the Gothic architecture. Our interior is in dire need of repainting. That would also include fixing the cracks that vein the walls and restoring and cleaning the stained glass windows. Within the front sanctuary wall behind the reredos is a covered hole with space that needs to be filled with a round stained glass window that once existed prior to the 1950s renovation. Our worn and scratched wooden pews are in need of restoration. One can visibly see and feel the ever-growing cracks in almost every pew, along with the faded and dirty stain finish brought on by time and heavy use. For many, the pews are very uncomfortable to sit in for the entirety of Mass. The pew kneelers are also loud and extremely uncomfortable, causing distractions during the sacred liturgies. We have an industrial gray carpet that is in constant need of shampooing due to heavy traffic and accidents that regularly occur. Underneath the carpet are tiles that have asbestos glue that also need to be removed and replaced. An essential liturgical instrument used in our church is the organ, which is on the verge of falling apart and needs to be replaced. The organ was made in the 1950s, and some of the replacement items necessary to keep it working no longer exist. Aside from the ornate wooden presider's chair that matches our Gothic church, the rest of the sanctuary furniture is dated and in need of upgrades. The altar, ambo, baptismal font, and side altars don't match any of the existing or planned designs of the church and need to be replaced. The lighting in the church needs to be brighter and more welcoming than it is now, especially in places of prominence within the sanctuary. The movable risers for our different choirs and cantors are cramped, insufficient, unsafe, and need to be improved. The riser's large space requirement also limits and slows the flow of the communion exit line. The choir loft, although not used by many, has become a dusty, frayed mess in need of cleaning and redesign. Our current church has no special area or areas set aside for prayerful devotion. Special spaces to kneel, pray, and light candles are needed in our church. Our current gathering space is small and does not allow our parishioners to adequately meet, greet, and build community with one another. The space is also bursting with the untidiness of prayer cards and card tables with different announcements on them, further adding to the gathering space congestion. Electrical improvements in the kitchen and parish hall are also needed in order to be more hospitable for larger events. The current circuits do not have the capacity to handle events that have large electrical requirements. The parking lot does not drain water from the above hill correctly, which causes water buildup around our church and school buildings. Finally, because of the age of our church and the wear and tear over the years, there are always new surprises that continually surface. We need to strengthen our capital and future projects fund that will cover any future needs and emergencies that may arise. To address these various needs and to prepare for our 175th anniversary celebration, we have an ambitious and exciting plan. It calls for transforming our worship space and restoring many of the beautiful aspects of our historic church, ultimately lighting the way to the future. With the black marble removed, our sanctuary will significantly brighten up with a welcoming and inspiring color scheme. Although the final design has not been set, we are sure that it will better reflect the light of our parish community. Our hope is to repurpose the black marble in some other way within and around our church campus. The walls and ceilings will also be restored and repainted so that there are no more dirt stains or cracks. The color scheme will match that of the sanctuary and will look uniform, welcoming, peaceful, and bright. Many stained glass windows lining the church will also be cleaned and restored. The covered hole that once housed the prominent circular St. Francis de Sales stained glass window will again be filled with a stained glass window with the Sacred Heart of Jesus as the center focus. St. Francis de Sales had a special devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, making it a meaningful and sacred complement to the existing stained glass window at the back of the church. The window will allow more light to shine in on the altar area, effectively enhancing the brilliance of the church. We plan to refurbish our pews as they are over 100 years old and in need of refinishing. We will also be exploring the option of having cushioned pews to further increase comfort. Pew kneelers will also be updated to improve comfort and minimize noisy distractions. While the type of flooring has not yet been decided, the choice of material will help make the church acoustic-friendly and will also add to the bright, vibrant, spiritual atmosphere that will be reflected within the church. We plan to replace our obsolete organ with a new or gently used digital organ. This versatile new organ will provide the essential melodies to everyday liturgy and will be a beautiful blessing not only for masses, but for the weddings and funerals that our church attracts. We are going to have new, matching wooden sanctuary furniture that ties in with the altar, ambo, baptismal font, and St. Joseph and St. Mary side altars so that there is a sacred and uniform look and design. We plan to install additional and directional sanctuary lighting to brighten up the altar area. We also plan to upgrade the pendant light wiring for mass settings so that lights can be dimmed and brightened versus being just on or off. The two stained glass windows on the east side of the church that are covered by the building will be backlit to bring out their beauty. We plan to have wide, carpeted steps below each side altar where music leaders can have the option to set up seating for choir members, opening up more seats in the pews for the congregation. This arrangement will also provide plenty of room for instrumentalists. Hanging microphones will also create ample space for communion flow. The dual choir area will allow safe options for large choir groups and concerts while producing a visual symmetry for our worship space. It will have a clean and uncluttered look when there is a liturgical celebration without a choir, as the chairs or benches can be removed. The choir loft will experience a facelift to clean and refurbish the space to make it presentable and easier to navigate. Additionally, we are planning on having a devotional area in the back vestibule of the church. This devotional area will provide a quiet, private area to light a candle, pray, and reflect. The library will be relocated and the walls will be removed to make a more spacious, warm, and hospitable welcome center. The stained glass window in the library will be fully exposed and enjoyed by all who enter and exit. We plan on having a TV mounted in the area that will display all announcements, which will reduce clutter and promote fellowship before and after Mass. The kitchen and parish hall will have new circuitry to take on large cooking events like dinners and brunches that require substantial electrical capacities. The entire parking lot will be resurfaced with the water redirected to drain properly, making the area safer for the church and school community. We plan on creating a capital and future projects fund that will cover any future needs and/or emergencies that may arise. By doing so, our parish and school can feel safe and secure in knowing that we have a fund specifically for inevitable future maintenance items that will benefit the entire St. Francis de Sales community and will allow us to be self-sustainable for future updates. To address our needs and plans, we are initiating an intensive fundraising effort titled the Project 2017 Lighting the Way to the Future campaign. Our aim with this important effort is to raise the funds required to renew and restore our church to best reflect the bright, welcoming parish that we are. Our minimum goal is $1 million, which will enable us to renovate and refurbish the inside of our church. A miracle goal of $1,500,000 has also been set, which, if met, will enable us to upgrade the parking lot and meet other current and future needs. In order to reach our financial objectives, we will need both a substantial number of givers and a few fairly substantial gifts. And all members are asked to consider gifts above and beyond what they give in their regular offerings and other contributions toward this special campaign. Gifts to this special effort can be made in a variety of ways. Long-term subscriptions, or pledges payable over 3 years, are easier for most and essential to meeting our goal, since it would be impractical, if not impossible, to reach our objectives with one-time out-of-pocket gifts. Gifts may be made in monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual installments at the donor's discretion, and a 10% initial investment toward your total pledge is encouraged. Non-cash gifts are an additional or alternative way you can support our cause. You may wish, for example, to consider gifts in kind, such as labor and materials, gifts of securities, such as stocks and bonds, gifts of real estate, or even personal property, such as artwork, automobiles, jewelry, and antiques. And finally, you could also choose to support our efforts through deferred gifts, which are gifts that can be given or arranged for now, but will not be received until later, as would be the case with gifts of life insurance or gifts through one's estate. There are also a variety of very specific and special gift opportunities available to donors of qualifying gift amounts. These opportunities provide people with the unique chance to designate their gifts to a particular portion of the project and dedicate them in honor or memory of those they choose for the next 10 years once payment for these areas or items is received in full. Donors of specific gift items will have their names and/or the names of those they are honoring with their gifts recognized in a special way. These naming rights will extend for a period of 10 years once payment for the item is fully received. And all donors, regardless of the size of their gifts, will have their names included in a special bulletin insert and on a special donor wall or donor book that will be displayed in a prominent and visible place within our newly renovated facilities at the conclusion of our campaign. But whatever the gift or method of making it may be, please be assured that your support is both urgently needed and will be greatly appreciated. Through the prayerful, volunteer, and financial support of many, and the extraordinary support of a few, we will succeed in our task. Won't you please join us in this exciting and essential effort to better our service to one another, to our community, and to Christ?